Peace, peace. How you guys doing? It's your boy FREEPLAY, and we're back with another video. Today's video, I'm simply gonna be going over my current setup since it's different from when I started this channel, and I'm gonna just walk you guys through kind of like what I got going on and why. So I think the philosophy behind the setup, or like the reasoning of why we do things, has a lot more to do than what we have around us. So I'm gonna just start from the top with what I'm using, and the whys, right? So I'm gonna start with the computer. Obviously, is a very integral part of my setup because that's where all my work gets saved, and that's where basically like I'm able to finish my ideas and make them into full songs. I think I mentioned before on the channel that I use multiple DAWs, digital audio workstations, or DAWs, whatever you want to call them. I'm currently using the free version of Pro Tools when I'm sampling, and the reason why is because it is limited to, like, I think 8 tracks, which I like limits. The ASR only has 8 tracks, so I get reminded a little bit of that, of like not having so much going on. And it just, I'm so fast with Pro Tools because I use it as the main DAW in the recording studios that I work in, that I could just record really fast. Like, I know the shortcuts, and I'm able to set it up and just track out really quickly into the DAW. A lot of people, if you read the comments, I read comments on other videos I watch, but you'll notice that I often say, when people ask me like if I use SCSI or floppies, and the answer is neither. I have both. And over here I have this. I've shown it before in the channel. This Zulu SCSI device that has like a micro SD, and it would allow me, because I do have SCSI option. And I'm not gonna go over what SCSI is. You could look it up. It's an old format, and it's basically a way to connect devices to your sampler. So the MPC 2000 also has SCSI, and a lot of devices that come from that time period, like the 90s, late 80s, they'll have this, and even some Apple computers used to have SCSI. And that's why they were used for music production a lot of times, because they were able to kind of communicate with this format. But basically, somebody came up with a way to be able to use a SD card with your samplers. And I just can't wrap around my head around the file structure of the Ensoniq. I've read on it a lot, and I go on the forums, and people have tried to help me. There's a lot of outdated software that still works. I have an old XP desktop that I'm probably able to use to make things easier. I don't have a computer that has a floppy, so I'm not able to kind of like make it as easy as I would want to. But you really have to kind of have a degree in computer science, in my opinion. I might just be, not at that level or in this time period to understand like how things get transferred or saved on the ASR. And to be honest, it just overcomplicates my creative process, that I rather just go out of the ASR into where it's going to end up, which is Pro Tools most likely anyway. And, looking at, for example, somebody that I'm able to find out a lot of information about online that still uses the ASR, like Jake One, he's a big inspiration, because although Kanye was the reason that I got, and Pharrell, and Timbo, and anybody that I saw with the ASR that I looked up to their beats, including Jake One, who I came to know later on about, and Alchemist. But I saw him tracking into Pro Tools, and I was like, okay, that makes sense, because at the end of the day, like, if I send it to a major artist, which is like my goal always when making music, is to get my music like to be heard on the highest level as possible, or to just have a high reach. It's not just like I want to work with major artists, but I want my music to get finished and like end up on a record. And everyone that I know that I've worked with in major recording studios is usually recording into Pro Tools, and the big engineers, they mix in Pro Tools, so it's gonna end up in Pro Tools anyways. So why not come out of the ASR and go straight into Pro Tools. That way, it when I place a beat or send it to an artist's engineer or producer, is already in the format that the vocals are in. So it just makes file transfer easier in the future. And I'm printing right away. I recently acquired the UAD Solo because it was within my budget and also because of the portability factor. I liked that I didn't need a power supply to use it, and I only needed 2 channels currently. My main focuses are like recording vocals for projects that I'm doing for my own albums, and usually tracking out of the ASR or the MPC 2000, which I have over here. It's heavy, but I'm currently not using it in my setup, and I'll tell you guys why. So another thing I do have, and let me take a second and grab it just so you guys could see it. This is like Ensoniq porn for people that know. I have this guy, and I've shown this on the channel too, which is the OEX6 SR, the unicorn. Very hard to find. What does this do? If you know, you know, but it basically has, I don't know if you guys can see it, it has 6 outputs. So 6 plus 2 is 8, unless you're listening to Terrence Howard. I'm just kidding, guys. But yeah, so this guy usually fits perfectly right here too, actually. And I think that's what was meant, it was meant to go. And basically you got more outs. So why don't I use it? It's expensive. I didn't pay the prices that they're going for now. Everything came together. I was very lucky and found an opportunity with this ASR, and it was kind of ridiculous, like how little I feel like I paid for it. I'm not gonna say how much. Obviously, if you look everything up, is going for ridiculous prices. I wouldn't pay for it now because I just can't afford of that what they're asking for it now. But yeah, this was a great investment for me. But why am I not using it, right? I used to have an RME UFX Plus, which is an audio interface that has MADI, a whole bunch of channels, and I had a studio that could kind of fit all that. But now I'm in a position where like my goals and my circumstances have caused me to like have to scale down and only use what I need. I have focals, which I've shown on the channel too, which are huge speakers, but I'm only able to use these Avantones because of the space. I'm working out of like, a bedroom studio, you could say, just in the interim for what I'm able to do. Like I said, space permitting. That's one of the reasons that the 2000 XL is not connected to the setup right now. But anyway, yeah, like a lot of times I'm not tracking everything all at once, and this is the interface I have. It doesn't have more inputs or the ability to expand to more inputs. So this would make my life easier. I'm not gonna lie. Once I get more stationary and have to be less mobile and have my setup again the way that I dream of, this is going to be connected all the time. So I could have 8 outs. I would love to have 8 preamps to go through before hitting the DAW, which is something that this is what that represents. But I'm not even using my vocal. This is like a vocal chain to me. I have the 1073 and the Tube Tech. And I use that to track vocals for my own projects, as well as like if a client wants me to go and be mobile at a hotel or here in New York, I have a way of transporting this. But I'm not running the MPC or the ASR through that because I only have 1 channel, and I like to go in stereo. I sample in mono and into the ASR, but I like to go out stereo. The UAD Solo has stereo input in the back, and it's really easy. But yeah, I'm all over the place. But anyways, I have this is a M1 Pro, and I'm running Pro Tools. I already mentioned I have a UAD Solo. I guess I mentioned everything that I have already kind of here. The Avantones Mix Cubes, these are the active ones, and I think they're great. I didn't like them when I first got them, but as I learned them. I think they're great for what they do, and for a small space, they're ideal. I haven't had the opportunity to use like the IK Multimedia. I forgot what they're called, but the iLouds, yeah, those are recommended to me by a lot of people. But I already have these, so I'm like, okay, these are small. The power supplies are kind of like a burden to put around, but on the desk they don't take up a lot of space. And I think I saw like Dave Pensato using not the same brand but using these, and he's somebody that I would like go to his podcast and his YouTube channel a lot to learn from. And I was like, okay, yeah, like whenever I got the opportunity to buy these, I did, and they've been growing on me ever since. With this and the focals, I feel like I could get anything done, and also the speakers on the MacBook is like one of the hidden secrets that I like to use for monitoring. So there you go. You have one of my, that's another monitoring like source that I use. So I have two here right now, right? Like I could listen to things on this and this. I also like to have like this portable JBL, and I have a bunch of playback sources that I always listen to music on, and I kind of know where I'm at if I listen to that source, whatever. So yeah, I have this for my monitoring. The DAWs that I use outside of Pro Tools is Ableton Live. I'm using 12 now. I just upgraded not too long ago, and FL Studio 24. I just upgraded not too long ago. I know I made a video complaining about it. They've since then fixed those bugs. So shout out to ImageLine, because I do like using it. So yeah, that it hasn't been crashing on me ever since, and Ableton hasn't been crashing on me ever since, and Pro Tools hasn't been crashing. So I'm in a happy place right now. I love when programs are just stable. And I'm gonna I don't know. I guess I should do it now. I was gonna save this for another video, but I was gonna talk about like stability and why we use certain things as professionals, right? Shout out to the person that said that they're glad I'm back and they're here for like the professional talk. And yeah, so stability, right? It's very important, because I think that like crashing and things not working is something that kills our creativity. And one quick thing I'll say about that is like, just when I came up, like 2011, 2012 is kind of when I started to get into studios as an intern first. And I'll go more into this like later on if you guys are interested in these stories. But that's when I started to see like how people that were getting records on labels and were legends were doing things, right? And that's what guided me always. It wasn't like whatever I read online or what I thought was the way that things were done. It's being in New York and going to these legendary studios, Chung King Quad Studios and Chung King Studios, those big places where I got to see some huge artists and producers work and like see how things were done still before the full like digital revolution, where now most things are just FL and Pro Tools for vocals. But yeah, like I didn't get to work directly with Salam Remy, but he would come to Chung King, and like obviously you guys could look him up. You should know who he is if you like hip hop. But Salam would come with the 4000, with the MPC 4000, and eight channel rack of authentic Neve 1073s to connect his 4000 to before going into the Pro Tools. And even probably after that, they would probably go through the console. It was a Neve VR I was at the second iteration or the third iteration of what was Chung King in Midtown, after it was like in downtown. And the September 11th situation affected it a lot and caused it to close down and move. I was in that last final, I think the final iteration of what that studio was, and what it meant to hip hop is, I'm lucky to just be even like an intern. Let's say I was an intern and kind of like an assistant at that studio. But yeah, like even just hearing that Salam was like in one of the rooms and like, oh yeah, he brought a 4000 and he uses his own 1073s was crazy. But that just goes to show you guys, like, it's not even always about the gear. Like, okay, if you're never gonna sound like him if you don't have a 4000 or if you don't have 8 channels of 1073 Neves, which is like almost well over 100K to run your stuff through. But it's also like the respect that these producers had for the engineers. And I like today I saw a Bob Power interview about his role in the Tribe Called Quest and how they would do things and like use crazy machines to remove noise, and how this other channel that I was watching about the New York City music scene with I believe it was Tony Black, who worked like on the Michael Jackson stuff, and he worked with Swiss. But it's like those times they were not only using these amazing sounding samplers, but they were using great engineers and running things through SSLs, through Neves, and all of that has been lost in what we have now, because there's no more, I believe personally that there's not a lot of respect for the craft anymore of like the role that an engineer could play in shaping the sonics of your music. And also, like, a lot of studios died out, and now we just have studios that have a vocal chain with a digital audio workstation and nice speakers and a cool vibe. So producers, like, they're not going out of their way to like really lock in and go back to this sound. And that's why I have the ASR in my setup still, is because like I crave that sound of that time, and infusing it even in my modern workflow into the whole picture. And the reason why I use the ASR over the MPC 2000 XL is just because to me and the way my brain works, it's faster. And it adds a lot more than if I had the MPC here, sitting here. So one of the things that I like to do, obviously, is sample. So this has a sample button, boom, right away, sample. The 2000 XL, I have to hit shift plus sample. 2 buttons. Those 2 things already mess with me a little bit. I come out of my headphone here and go into one of the inputs. It's probably not the best way to do it. Eventually, I would like to get a UAD Duo that has like more than the monitor out. It has 4 outputs, so maybe I could come in left and right. But for now, I come straight out of the headphone into the ASR. I also like that the ASR has metering physically on the keyboard versus the 2000 XL, where I have to look at a screen and see whether it's clipping or not. It doesn't really tell you it's clipping. It kind of just goes, it's like a bar. That's not that accurate in my opinion. And then it has, I do like that the 2000 XL has the 2 knobs. Oh man, this thing's heavy. The 2 knobs on the upper right there, where I could control the input gain without having to like reach in the back here. That's inconvenient on this. But where this wins for me is just like the immediacy of sampling. The fact that I have my tracks here without having to menu dive too much, and my start and stop is right here. It's just like, and I get why Jake is so fast, obviously because of the time he put in, and like I get faster every time I use it, but it's just everything kind of, it becomes a rhythm when you're working with this. And I know that the XL has a rhythm, but to me it's a little different and a little bit more cumbersome when like using it in this hybrid setup. The other thing is like I could use this also. I have it connected to a MIDI interface, a MIO. You can't really see it. It's like back here. That's part of my setup. But anyway, it's connected. It's a MIO 1 USB interface. Let me see if I could get to it. So you guys can see. Yeah, this guy here. So it goes USB and then it has MIDI on the other side. And what that allows me to do is like, now I could use a keyboard like in my DAW. So if I have to play a chord, you could play chords on the pads of the MPC, but you know, I think kind of more like a keyboard player because I come from guitar and like I know a little bit of piano. So I could figure out my chords and like even a bass line, I could try to find like the tone of it through a keyboard. So I like that this is set up that way. And then the last thing is that my 2000 XL doesn't have the EB16 FX card. This has so much effects. And I like to use this to add like reverb to a sample. Even if I take a loop, automatically I put reverb on that loop, and it's like, it gives me a whole nother vibe. I like the chopping on the 2000 XL a lot more because I could see the waveform, and I come from DAWs where I see the waveform. This is more numbers and ears, so it makes me work harder. But I just like the sound of the ASR more, in my opinion, than the XL. And the boost for the drums is another thing that just sells me on it. So I think it just comes down to like the fact that I don't having a lot of space right now, and I need certain things to add to what I'm already doing in the box. So I could quickly like sample into it, go right out, print it. Even if I'm an FL and like working on a totally different genre that's not hip hop, I'll take that one shot kick and put it in here, hit boost, boom, put it back into the DAW. So it just allows me to sample and give it flavor and go back in really quickly with also like outboard effects. So that's why the ASR is here, and right now the 2000 XL is sitting on the sidelines, but it's not going anywhere. Like, I'll never sell any of the gear I have here if I don't have to, right? But yeah, that's kind of it. I know it was a little long-winded. I went all over the place, but these are some of the things that are in my setup right now. This shelf has a bunch of records. It's like 4 rolls of records. They're all filled up. I don't have the turntable connected right now because I'm not currently sampling off of vinyl. And when I do videos for YouTube, I'm not dealing with the copyright strikes. So most of the stuff I'm doing, I'm sampling off of packs, which I usually do time stretching either in FL or Ableton. I put it into the ASR for flavor. So that's why like the last 2 videos, if you see them, I'm like looping for the most part. I'm not chopping on the ASR because I want to make like quicker videos for you guys to see the process and how I would approach it from like a real like production standpoint of like, I'm trying to make something quick that'll set a vibe, and then I'll usually like further arrange it in the DAW. But I noticed like DAW, like screen sharing things, it's not really like popular for my current community. So I haven't been going like super deep into like, okay, what do I do after? I'm just kind of showing you guys how I put it together. And even then, by the time you guys see it, I'm usually like EQing before I start shooting the video. I'm usually making sure everything's sitting right. So I like make the beat twice actually before I upload it. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys want me to talk more about on the channel, what you guys want to see more of. I think I covered my current setup. This Arturia Micro Lab is something I didn't talk about. I use that if I quickly need something and the ASR is not on. It's like a keyboard, MIDI keyboard. It doesn't have any sound, obviously, but it's just convenient, and I use it when I travel. So when I travel, I usually take my laptop, my hard drive, the Apollo if I'm going to need it, and my mouse. And this mouse just because it's easier sometimes, more for me than the trackpad. And yeah, when I'm home, I like to use the ASR because it gives me that feel of like the sound that I like, and it just makes me feel more connected to my music, because I feel like now that's something that like if you use a Fender guitar and you're like Fender, like this is like my sound now. People, or I love it. I love it. It's been on mostly all my records, in some way, even if I'm just running stuff through it. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to know more about. I guess that's it for now. I can't think of anything else. I have a really minimal setup right now because I'm like mobile. I just unplug everything and I'm on the move. And then I just have a little corner right now in my room where I could do some videos for you guys and also use my samplers, which when I'm making music away from my samplers, I'm like, I don't feel complete. I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's how it is when you get used to working this way. It's like, man, is an experience in and of itself, and I love it. And I love to continue to teach you guys more of what I know, what you guys want to like see. This video was just like a story time all over the place. I'm not going to edit it, but I hope you guys got something from it. And if you got any more questions that warrant a video, or like I'm usually in the comments trying to answer you guys, let me know. All right. Thank y'all for rocking with me. It's your boy FREEPLAY. I'm out. Peace.